studies have shown that people can have a 26% increase in body dissatisfaction by just spending a week on social media looking at other people, right? So I'm sure this is increasing, anxiety and depression in people. The algorithm of these social media companies, they don't tweak them to make you feel better. They tweak them to keep you engaged and keep those dopamine hits coming. And they don't care if your mental health is good. They care if your eyeballs are looking at a screen so that they can sell you something.
Stop looking at lower level, I'm sorry, but losers and saying, I'm doing pretty good. No. Compare you to you. Look at the way you look at the scale, look at your blood work, and then do what you need to get where you want to go. Stop comparing yourself, whether it's some hot person on the internet that's taking steroids and growth hormone, or your friend that's, having McDonald's 5 times a week, and now you're only having McDonald's 1 time a week. Stop comparing yourself to people. That person, I don't care about that person. That's a bad barometer to go by.
Mike, this week, I wanted to change the podcast just a little bit and talk about the way people can really suffer when they start comparing themselves with unrealistic people that they see online. And this can be on any social media platform, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you're seeing out there. It can be really detrimental to people if they're trying to compare themselves to someone who's just living an unrealistic life, someone who has tailored their online image to be something that simply is not who they really are. And I think it's something a lot of people do, and maybe even without knowing it.
I've been training people for 30 years, and people used to come in with like a cutout, showing our age, right? But they would take a cutout of a fitness model or a bodybuilder, whoever it was, and bring the picture into me and say, could I look like this? Now that was just magazines, but now we have, the phone and the filters and the lighting. And unfortunately, back in the day, Nick, like drugs, steroids, and growth hormone and thyroid medications, these would be things that elite athletes and bodybuilders would only take. And now, unfortunately, people are taking this just to keep up with people on social media, and it's a real problem. So back in the day when you had that photo that people would cut out and they would compare themselves even back then, and there was lighting and all that, but it was actual photo they got from a magazine. Now there's so much trickery. And, that was a magazine that would come out once a month and there was like, 1 or 2 photos, but now it's just like scrolling all day long and you can be comparing yourself to other people.
And not just that, back then in these times, in the before times, right? Before everyone was so hyper-focused on what was happening digitally, most of their time was spent in the real world. When you're in the real world, most people look normal. They kind of look like you, right? Some might be a little more fit than you. Some might be a little fatter than you. You also don't know 10 million people. 50 people, 100 people, right? And you're probably somewhere in the middle. And it's a lot easier to feel good about yourself when you're around a bunch of average people who are closer to you. If you're living predominantly in a digital world where you're not socially interacting with friends out in the real world and you're just living your life online, you're seeing the curated life that everyone has put out there. And not just that, people from all over the world. Now you're comparing yourself to rich people who live in Dubai, who spend their life working out all day long and things like that, So it's just a much different equation for people to have to deal with. And it's a lot harder. It's just a lot harder for people.
It is. And like I said, there's so many tricks to the game now. And people really are willing to do things to get a certain look, Nick. And I'm concerned, and we're concerned, that they're going to do things that actually can shorten their lives by decades sometimes. And it's not good. And it's not good for their mental. It's not good for their relationships. It's not good for their everyday life. And, Now, here's the thing though, let's play the other side. It does give you something to be motivated by and shoot for. You can get your 5 favorite people that you would aspire to look like. But I would hate for people to be picking 5 people that are either 30 years younger than them, or they can be on a boatload of drugs and doing a ton of lighting and doctoring to videos, and actually can doctor videos now, but definitely doctor up uh, photos.
Hmm.
And this can really make somebody feel bad about themselves, or just give up entirely, or follow a crazy diet that person's not even following themselves. I've heard, and this is no beat up on the vegan diet, but supposedly there's vegan people or doctors that are actually eating meat on the side. And some of these people have been caught in restaurants and stuff like that. So they're online, they have this persona. And again, this is not a beat up, this is just one example on the vegans. They have these people thinking that, veganism has to be an all or nothing thing. And if you eat an animal, you should be crucified. But these people are actually eating steaks and stuff like that. And that's just one example. Or somebody's claiming that they're a natural athlete, but somebody knows they're a drug dealer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a tough thing, and people really need to know that it's a place to go and look and get some pearls of wisdom. But pick who you're listening to, Nick. If you're a 50-year-old man and you have 2 jobs and 3 kids and a mortgage, maybe your favorite influencer shouldn't be a 19-year-old guy with a faux walk. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you want to pick a 50-year-old dude that is at least admitting that he's on TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy, and saying, hey, or I'm not on TRT, but like, pick who you're going to follow as your guide to fitness and health.
Yeah. Yeah, the social media algorithms feed us upward comparisons. And an upward comparison is when you're comparing yourself to someone better than you. And that's what you're fed throughout your social media algorithm. In real life, we also have downward comparisons.
What is it? What is
So
it?
an upward comparison is when you're looking up at somebody, when you're saying they're better than me in some way, and I would like to achieve that. A downward comparison is when you're looking down at someone. And I don't mean that like you're looking down like I'm better than you, but I'm skinnier than you, or it makes you kind of feel good about yourself when you see somebody who you feel like you're better in some way than them. And people are doing this all the time. And again, I'm not saying you're constantly always walking around with your nose up in the air saying, I'm better than you, I'm worse than you. But we are doing that in our brain.
Yeah, well, but Nick, I know that's not what this video is about, but how does the algorithm decipher which one that you're like? How does it know if it's an up or somebody below you in your mind?
Well, it's feeding you people who are perfect. Most people aren't perfect. So most times you're getting fed people in your algorithm with the perfect abs, who have the perfect workout
Okay,
routine,
I got
who have been doing yoga. And, like you said, they're young and, 3 weeks of yoga turn their whole body around, and
right.
you're not seeing it, right?
But
So
are they feeding you the people beneath you as well?
no.
Okay, the
Right.
only
So in real life, you're getting upward and downward comparisons all the time, all around you.
in
There's
real.
somebody,
Gotcha.
there's somebody who's better looking than you, but there's somebody who's not as good looking as you. There's somebody who's richer than you, but there's somebody who's not as rich as you are. But on social media, you're only primarily fed, for the most part, people who are doing better than you, who are
Gotcha.
like living that perfect lifestyle.
I did know
So
that.
constant upward comparisons make you feel like shit, because you just feel like you're the lowest one on the totem pole. You are the bottom of the barrel, and you're probably not the bottom of the barrel. You're probably right in the middle because you're average, right? And just like most people, right in the middle, there's like a few small percentage of people who are up top, a few small percentage of the people who are down below, and most people ride that middle section somewhere, and they should feel decent about themselves. But constant over attention to social media focuses you on people who are that top 1, 2, 3%. And you think everybody's like this. Everybody's got a better car than me. Everybody's got better abs than me. Everybody's doing better than me in some metric that I'm trying to pay attention to. And it makes you feel like shit. one thing that I've done, and of course, this is weird coming from two guys who are on YouTube and putting videos out on Instagram, right? But in the last few months, I have taken my social media to my desktop computer and off of my phone.
Really?
And what that has done for me, it's made it so that it's not my constant go-to, that whenever I have a mental break, I need to go to social media and scroll. It's more premeditated. And so now, one or two times a week, when I'm not doing stuff for the show, if I'm just looking to relax and just do a little, scrolling on a social media site, I can do it when I go sit down at a computer. I do it for much less time, and it's not a constant dopamine hit in my pocket.
That's a great
So
strategy. Did you
for
come up with that on your own, Nick, or you
I
read about
did.
it?
No, I just said I said, "Let me take it off my phone," right? So I took it off my phone because Instagram for me was becoming something that I could tell was dominating way too much of my day.
Really?
And I wasn't reading any books, and I wasn't getting done all the things I wanted to get done. And then I started getting like a weekly screen report. And that weekly screen report, which anybody who has an iPhone, and I'm sure any other phone can do, at the end of the week, it tells you how much time did you spend on screens this week? And then you can look, how much time did I spend on each app? And when I looked and saw how much time I was spending on Instagram, I got a little sick.
Really? So let's get personal, Nick. Let's get vulnerable. Do you compare yourself to people on when you were doing all that screen time? Did you find yourself comparing yourself?
I,
Be honest. Be
I
honest.
compare myself to people at work where I feel like, oh, this person's work, because I'm a freelancer, right? I work in television production. I'm
Right.
like, oh, this person's working so much more than me. Why? And then I start to feel bad about myself. Well, they got this job and I didn't get that job. And why did they get this? And why didn't I get that? And these are my friends, right? And these are not people that I hate. I objectively feel very happy for them that they're doing this or they're doing that. But I would start to get that little jealousy starts to eat at you, and
Okay.
it made me feel like shit.
Now, did you get that on it, like for people you didn't know, like on Instagram? Did you find that?
I don't have a lot of, I wasn't following like a lot of like fitness influencers. I wasn't following a lot of people like that. So I wasn't seeing people who were super fit, but you see people who are super rich, who are always going on vacation. And then you feel like, oh, am I not good enough? Should I have done something else?
Right.
It kind of just didn't make me feel good. You know,
Interesting.
now that being said, you can do a few things. You can reset your algorithm, and I'm not going to go through exactly how to do that, but there are ways on different social media platforms to reset your algorithm. And then when you go back in and you start looking at stuff, you can be more specific, more premeditated about what you choose to look at,
Let's
right?
do a podcast on that. 'Cause I know that's not in our wheelhouse, but I didn't know that.
And maybe we can bring somebody in who can talk about this, right?
Yeah.
But so if you reset your algorithm and then the only thing you look at are cute cat videos and some cooking videos, and for me, maybe a couple skateboard videos, that's all it's going to show you. But once you stay and watch one full video of someone, some fitness influencer or some rich person doing this thing or that thing or whatever it is, something that's objectively negative for your overall mental health, but was a nice dopamine hit and you might want to see it again, it's just going to start feeding you and feeding you and feeding you,
Yeah.
and it becomes, a real negative feedback loop for people that can be really disruptive to their overall mental health.
Right.
And so, like I said, taking it off my phone, I mean, I really am trying to take my phone back to the BlackBerry status where it's like I do some emails, I make some phone calls, some text messages, I do some maps on there and things like that, and I'll read news. I'm trying these days to read news instead of watch news because it kind of gives you the details you need quickly, and then I can disengage. And so once or twice a day, maybe I'll check in on a news app, see what's going on out there in the world. And I don't have to watch 7 hours of news to find out. It's 3, 4 articles. I kind of know what's going on. Nothing's going to change. There's no breaking news today. Every once in a while there is, but the news media wants you to think that 24 hours a day, it's breaking news. And if you're not paying attention, you're going to be left behind. You're not. You're
Right.
not going to be left behind.
Right.
And so for me, that's been really transformative in my reclaiming time during the week to do things that just make me feel better, that make me feel like I'm getting smarter or I'm
Is that
relaxing.
possible?
I
You need to
think
get
so.
smarter?
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
so. I mean,
Well, thank God one of us, right? You know what, Nick? You brought up a great topic with taking that off your phone. But before the phone, and this was a thing when I was training people 30 years ago, and I still have people do this today. This is totally away from social media and all that. But a lot of times when I'm training people, they're they're living maybe 75 to 80% of what they should be doing, right? When they should be doing 95, 100%, especially if somebody had a heart attack or two strokes. And a lot of times clients over the years have turned around and say, well, I did this and this and that, but compared to everybody else, Mike. And I said, I don't give about all these people that you're comparing yourself to. You're still now it's going the other way, Nick. They're comparing themselves to the
that's
low
a
level, right?
downward comparison.
And they're looking at what they're doing and they're saying, "But I'm doing great." And I said, "Listen, I don't care about what all those people. First off, they're not my clients and I don't know their health history. And I don't mean this in a bad way. If they have a stroke, a heart attack, or whatever, or their wife cheats on, I don't care because I don't know those people and I don't want to know those people. I want to know about you. And stop comparing yourself to the people that are losing in life."
Yeah.
So whether it
Well, because
whether
you don't want to have an unbalanced amount of comparison in your life. You want a little bit of the down comparison, but you want a little bit of that upward
right.
comparison.
Stop looking at low level, I'm sorry, but losers and saying, I'm doing pretty good. No, no, no. Compare you to you. Look at the way you look at the scale, look at your blood work, and then do what you need to get where you want to go. Stop comparing yourself, whether it's some hot person on the internet that's taking steroids and growth hormone, or your friend that's having McDonald's 5 times a week, and now you're only having McDonald's 1 time a week.
You think you're
Stop
great.
comparing yourself to people.
Yeah.
That person, I don't care about that person. That's a bad barometer to go by.
But the comparisons are just hyper amplified online. And, people are spending upwards of 2.5 hours a day
Is
on
it that
social
much,
media.
Nick?
2.5 hours. Think about that. I mean, think about what that means for the total weekly consumption of social media in your life. That is crazy. Think about if you took that down to even a half hour a day, you're reclaiming 10 hours on the weekdays,
Wow.
right? Think
Yeah.
about what you could get accomplished if I gifted you 10 hours back,
Right.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And studies have shown that people can have a 26% increase in body dissatisfaction by just spending a week on social media looking at other people,
Wow.
right? So I'm sure this is increasing, anxiety and depression in people. The algorithm of these social media companies, they don't tweak them to make you feel better. They tweak them to keep you engaged and keep those dopamine hits coming. And they don't care if your mental health is good. They care if your eyeballs are looking at a screen so that they can sell you something. So there are benefits. I've found a ton of new great recipes. I've seen a lot of interesting stories, science stories about, new species that have been found and, stories about astronomy and different things like that. There's a lot of really great information out there. And there's a lot of toxic garbage that is being mainlined into people's systems for, like I said, 2.5 hours a day. And it's really scary.
You said something and all that, Nick. The best sentence, or the sentence stood out the most to me was something to sell you. Now, I'm not I'm not down on people. A lot of times I'll see a video or someone's plugging a hair product and people will shit on those people for doing that. Why? Look, we all go to work and start businesses or start podcasts to get eyeballs, to sell a product. I don't feel like that's a problem. It's a problem when you're selling people lies. And that's where we have the biggest issue, right? So I'm all for people being motivated by fit people and people that are positive and stuff like that. But if they're trying to sell you something that's not going to work, or a diet or a lifestyle that they're actually not living themselves,
Mhm.
or they're using filters or smoke and mirrors,
I mean,
That's when it becomes a problem, man.
it's nothing new to say that the pictures you see online are not reality, and we all know it,
No,
but we
Nick.
don't remember it.
Nick, no, there's a lot of people, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be a dick. A lot of people are stupid and they don't fucking know. A lot of, I'm sorry, I don't like them anymore anyway. Do you know how many people walk around and think The Rock is natural?
Yeah, he's gotta be juiced up, right?
And
How old is he? He's, like, in his 50s, and he still looks
listen,
like
I'm not saying The Rock is not a hardworking guy. He's talented. He's got charm. I don't particularly like him anymore. I liked him when he was younger, but I mean, he's a successful guy. I'm not going to take that away from him. And to be clear, Nick, because we're talking about fitness and appearance, steroids, a lot of times people are like, oh, the person's on juice. It's an enhancement. They still eat healthy. The Rock still wakes up and works out and does cardio and
he's
measures out
putting in
his
the
food.
hard work.
Yes, but he's being enhanced. But I'm sorry, Nick, you're nicer than me. There's so many people that, and especially young guys that are being influenced by this guy or whatever. They're walking around with the bullshit and they're saying, why can't I look like this guy? Or I'm gonna drink his whatever drink he's doing. And this is just one example. This isn't a beat down on The Rock, but they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know that this guy's taking a pharmacy of drugs and, that he's got 2 massage therapists and a chef and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people walking around and they're depressed and they're feeling like they're not worthy or
Mhm.
you know how many guys now, Nick? I think you may have talked about this one time off camera. Guys, they're not even dating anymore because they feel insecure about their body or their penis size or whatever the it is, because they're comparing themselves to all these people online. And you're nicer than me. A lot of them don't know, Nick. They just don't know that they can add, they can actually make me and you look, Nick, with imaging and stuff that we're like big, huge steroid bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Now, I think they can even do, maybe you can tell me this, I think they can even screw with videos. I used to tell people all the time, if you want to follow anybody, follow somebody who's got videos in real time, because you can see that person. Maybe there's a little lighting
I
and
mean, I
stuff like
think with
that.
AI, there are new things you can do. I don't know every trick of the trade, but I think you're still primarily right. Videos can be more telling or more
Yes.
truthful than a photo. Photos are much easier to
Yes.
doctor still,
Yeah.
especially for somebody who doesn't know all the tech tricks.
Right. And I might be dating myself here, but back in the day when magazines were a thing, fitness people, I mean, don't get me wrong, bodybuilders and fitness, bikini and all those competitors, no one gets in better shape than them. Now, some of them are natural, okay, but a lot of them are on growth hormone. They take thyroid medications, they take steroids, they take a lot of different drugs, and it's a dirty business. Now, what these people would be back in the day, Nick, before there was Photoshop and all this, they would get in shape for whatever competition they were doing. It was a 16-week diet to get in shape. And then they would be in shape for like a week or two because they're starving to death.
Do
Okay.
15 different photo shoots.
Yes. And they had all these endorsements by these companies, and they would have like 30 different bikinis or 30 different bathing suits or 5 different suits for a man or whatever it was. And they would just snap out all these pictures for like 5 days after the competition. And then they would be done. And then they would go to like In-N-Out Burger and then to Pancake Hut, and they would blow up like wood ticks. But you wouldn't see any of that because they would just divvy out those pictures.
And I'm sure people still do that now with social media.
Yes, they would divvy out these pictures for 6 months, Nick. And then guess what? The next competition, and they would diet for that. And the consumer or whatever they were selling didn't see any of that downtime. And when they bought their product or they bought their book or they listened to their diet and they looked down at themselves, they got really down on themselves and they'd be like, oh, I'm not even a fraction of what this person is or what I want to look like. But what they don't realize is these people don't look like that 365 days a year. And it's really fucked up, to be honest with you. For the person that's doing this and not showing the ups and downs.
I don't know how it was for the magazines, but the social media, the fitness social media content can actually be demotivating for people. And for the most part, it is demotivating because people just start to feel bad about themselves and they give up.
Right. And say, I can't do this.
Because it's not realistic. And they
Yes.
think it should be. And they think because they can't achieve that goal that they're not as good. But in reality, they probably are just fine.
Right.
And they can just be on that slow, steady pace towards getting to a better place instead of comparing themselves to unrealistic goals that just make them feel like garbage.
You're right. And don't mistake us. Nick, we don't want anybody to be an 8. We want everybody to be a 10.
Yeah,
but
of
we want
course.
them to be a healthy 10, Nick.
And get to that 10 in a reasonable timeline.
Yes, where they can still eat their kid's birthday cake or go to a holiday party, provided they don't have an allergy, and celebrate and have alcohol, or, skip the gym for a week when they go on vacation. They don't have to be inconveniencing the people they go away with to go to the gym. We want people to live balanced, healthy lives. We want them to be the best they can be. This is not a video to condone laziness or settling. We want people to fly like eagles. We don't want any pigeons in the LynchFit podcast.
Yeah.
But we don't want people, right? And that's why we did this. We don't want them to compare themselves to anybody other than themselves. Their own blood work, their own lifts, their own cardio, how much they bench press, what their blood work is.
Are you living healthier? Are you feeling better? Or is your blood work better than it was a month ago? You're winning.
Right.
Is it better than it was a year ago? You're winning.
Right.
That's it. Compare yourself to yourself. Have you made improvements over the last 1, 2, 3, 6 months? That's a win.
Right. And if you need some people to look up to or to follow, just make sure that they're people that aren't scumbags, selling a whole bunch of bullshit, and are somewhat in your wheelhouse. If you're 60, I don't know if you should be following the workout of a 19-year-old.
And surprise, surprise, these people all have their own problems. They're all dealing with body dysmorphia, with eating disorders, with other problems, but they're not going to broadcast it out onto social media. That just doesn't make for a good post. But they're dealing with the same things that a lot of the people at home are dealing with. They're just not telling you.
Right. Absolutely, Nick.
The real thing I want people to take away from this episode is being mindful of what they're telling the algorithm they want to be seeing all the time, but also how much time they're spending on these social media apps. It is really not helping you to be spending any more than 30 minutes a day total looking at any of these apps. And like I said, people should really consider taking it off their phone. And it's just like a drug. When I took social media off my phone, I kept going back and tapping the place where the app was. It wasn't even there. I had deleted it. But I would turn on my phone and just instinctively click where Instagram was. Yes.
Really?
Yes. It took a couple days, 2 or 3 days before I was able to stop going. I'd like, stop. And now I'm just so much more relaxed throughout the day.
Mrs. Lynch calls me a cold German all the time, right? Because I don't care what anybody's doing. I'm bad like that. So there's a benefit to being a cold German because I don't look at social media. The only time I look at social media, Nick, to be honest with you, is when I'm uploading our videos, like our little trailers, as I call them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's buffering. Sometimes I'm forced. But I've never been a slave to it, thank God. I've always been in my own little world.
Even if it's not there now, you never know when it can come. So you have to be mindful of these things. Now, there are ways you can go on your phone. You can set a screen time limit on some apps. Some people need these guardrails. Not everybody has the willpower to say, I'm only going to do a half hour today. I'm going to delete this. And deleting it off their phone is not for everybody. And I don't mean to say that everybody should follow exactly what I've done in the same way that everybody shouldn't have my same diet and everybody shouldn't do exactly what I've done. But if you are spending...
Well, if they were smart, they would.
Well, but if you are spending more than 30 minutes a day doing any of this, you're wasting time. And you could really be doing things throughout the day that are helping to make you healthier, make your life better, or make you smarter. And social media likely is not doing that.
Yeah, and stop comparing yourself to other people because at the end of the day, there's only, like our parents tell us we're special, right? And there is only one of us. So there are body types. And if you're picking somebody like I had some woman that I trained for a long time, Nick. She was skinny as a rail. Most women would want to look like this woman, but she wanted to be very curvy. And at the time, that's when J-Lo really blew up. And I had to be honest with her. I'm like, you're never going to look like her. It doesn't matter what you do because she's a very curvy woman. That's her genetics. And you're like olive oil thin. So like for somebody, if she wanted to, like if we're going to
And that
talk
goes
about,
for men too.
right, if you're going to look at a celebrity, I said to her just for comparison, I said, look at Angelina Jolie, right? Another beautiful woman that everyone likes. That's more of your body type. So if you're going to look at somebody for motivation, whether it's a haircut or style, at least pick somebody that's in your genetic wheelhouse. So if you're somebody who's 5'11" and rail thin, like our guest that we had on for the gluten-free, and you want to be 5'2" and curvy, this is never going to happen. So when somebody sets, I don't like the word realistic because it's a loser's term, but you want to pick something. If you're going to shoot for something, pick something. If we're talking about body image, somebody who's kind of built like you, right? Like I'm never looking at basketball. I'm 5'9". Okay, I
See
used to be
that.
5'9.5", Nick. I lost a half an inch.
Okay.
All right.
Well, hold it off there.
It's
Don't get
age.
any shorter, but
I'm
fine.
I'm never gonna look at an NBA basketball player and try to get their build because they're 6 plus. You know what I mean? But if you know that, so again, there's trickery online. There's the apps and the filters, and unfortunately, in the fitness industry, there's plenty of enhancement through drugs and thyroid medications, but we also want to pick somebody who's kind of our genetic makeup,
And
similar to our genetic makeup.
people can change the accounts they follow. Instead of following appearance-focused accounts, follow skills-focused accounts. People who are not showing you what their abs look like, people who are showing you how to get your abs looking great, people who are showing you exercises that work well, people who are showing you how to make your life better, not how they've made their own life better.
I love
That is a really important thing for people because it's still teaching you what you want to know in a way that is helping you instead of having you just comparing yourself to some other unrealistic person. So if the accounts people are following are just appearance based and they're just showing off how great they are,
I love that you just said that. I love it because the fitness industry, there's been times where I wanted to leave the industry because, believe it or not, Nick, there's been times where I've been shredded, and I don't ever do that. I always keep my shirt on. You know, one of my clients used to call me Plastic Man, and he said to me, Mike, if I was you, I would never walk, I would never have a shirt on. And I said, yeah, well, you would just be an no one would like you. Sometimes when I go to the beach, Nick, I have my t-shirt on for like an hour. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm in phenomenal shape or whatever. And I'll have my shirt on for like an hour and a half sometimes. And my wife will be like, you gonna take off your shirt? And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. Like, to what you said, like if somebody's out there and they're selling something good, it's about the consumer. It's not about themselves. And if they're talking about them and their diet and their fitness journey, this is probably somebody you want to sidestep because they're probably going to send you down a road that's not healthy.
we are in control. We choose the accounts we follow. We choose the things that we seek out online. Make those things positive. Make those things attainable. Make those things something that makes you better. If you get off of being on social media for that 2.5 hour period and you feel like garbage, reassess what you have chosen to put into your body. We are products of what we consume. And if we are consuming things that make us feel bad, that is going to bleed into the rest of our day. So I really want people to take that away from this episode.
Absolutely. And like, let's just talk about one thing quick, Nick, and like when it comes to diet, because there's in the fitness space, which we're in, there's a lot of people pushing certain diets, whether it's a vegan diet or if it's a paleo diet or a keto diet or a carnivore diet. Some of these people online, Nick, they can have an MD to their name, they can be beautiful, they could be handsome, and they can be very persuasive in their delivery. If you're following somebody who's a carnivore doctor, let's say, and they're saying just eat meat. Eat no fruits, no vegetables, no whole grains. And they have a great message and they have an MD next to the name, you might say, okay, I want to do that. Now you adhere to that diet for 3 months and you go back to your doctor and it pulls blood and your blood work's nightmare. You need to not listen to this person. You need to listen to the doctor, listen to the blood work. The blood work is telling you a story that this person's message may be working for them. Maybe it is working for them. Maybe their blood work is phenomenal.
But they don't know you.
Yeah, and they'll be convincing you that this marker is no good, that it's overstated, like LDL cholesterol. Apply common sense. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people go online for nutrition and information, and you could be following the advice, and it could be literally killing you. Literally, and that's not me being dramatic. It could be literally killing you. But that person has you convinced because they have a supplement to sell or a book to sell, and you're into. And a lot of times, in the comment sections, there's a echo chamber, right? And they're just kind of confirming what this person is saying is right, but it's not right. It can literally be, and I've seen this happen where it's literally staring them in the face and they'll ignore it. They'll ignore their doctor and listen to this person on the internet. They don't even know who they are. It's not to be, we're not trying to be dicks here, Nick. We just need to wake people up.
People want the easy answers, right? And somebody in a 45-second post tells you all you got to do to be perfect is X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
You want to believe that person because we all wish it was that easy.
Right.
But it's not.
Right.
It's not. So I would challenge people after watching this video this week, this month, take a real look at how much time that they're spending online. And then also think about during that time, what are you consuming? If you eat junk food, you're going to look like garbage, right? If you consume junk content, you're going to feel mentally like garbage. Decide if you are consuming content while you're online that is making you a better person or just making you feel bad about yourself, and change the people you follow, change the accounts you're looking at, and certainly consider spending less time on social media, more time with friends and family, and more time out there exercising and enjoying yourself. And I think if you do that for 1, 2, 3 weeks, maybe do what I did and take it off your phone, or not, maybe just do something that's right for you, I think you will see a remarkable change in your overall mental health after just a few weeks.
Yeah, don't be a loser. You get one life. You want to maximize the time you have here on earth and be the best you can be.
Yep.
But stop comparing yourself to people that are either shit in the bed in life and not accomplishing anything, because that will make you feel better about your shortcomings.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But you don't want to compare yourself to people that are pulling trickery and taking drugs and doctoring pictures where you feel like you're less than, so like most things, right? Moderation is the key, including moderation, right?
That's right.
Nick? And listen to Nick. Just listen to Nick. And everything will be okay.
All right, everybody. If you enjoyed the episode, do us a favor, like it, comment on it, share it with a friend, tell somebody that you know about our podcast. It'll really help us grow and get more guests and do more episodes. But thank you very much for your time and have a great day.
Like Nick said, see you next time. Bye-bye. Please hit the like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any content in the future.